Hello, today I'm going to be making my first video about the Counter-Strike esports scene. I think today is a great opportunity to go ahead and do so because the Blast Austin Major just wrapped up, and as we all know, Vitality's won. I'm going to be talking about a couple teams of interest and just key takeaways of what I think about the future, how I think they did, maybe some speculation for the future. Yeah, let's get started. Alright, so first, for Vitality, this was the very obvious expected outcome for this event. They're coming off of 6 straight tournament wins, and they just made it 7th with this major win. They already got a Grand Slam. They could be eyeing a second one this year if they keep up their current form. And yeah, I see a lot of people hating, but I think we need to appreciate greatness while we see it. And it's very rare that a team this phenomenal is going to be in the scene, and I think that we should appreciate that more instead of just trying to bring them down, drag their accomplishments. It's really a near perfect season. They won every single tournament that they attended except for the first one, which was only a single match that they played and lost to Eternal Fire, so that one doesn't even really count in my opinion. And this is really the beginning foundations for an era here. I think that this level of dominance is very rare, and I could easily see them picking up the second major of this year as well. In terms of the whole year already, I think the number one player and number one team is already solidified. It's going to be ZywOo and Vitality, unless Donk has some insane run in the second half of 2025 and seeing them win the major and a bunch of events. I don't think it's possible that he can surpass ZywOo at this point, or any other team can do the same to Vitality for that matter. If anything, the next conversation should be moved just the GOAT debate. I don't even know if it's a debate anymore after this. ZywOo now has 2 majors to Simple's 1. Yes, the first one is asterisk, but this one was a very legit run. They beat, the top 5 teams. I don't really know if there's anything anyone can say the other way. He's got more MVPs now, more majors. It's really, a wrapped up conversation now. Now for the Mongols, this was really, in my eyes, a breakthrough event for them. They've been a very consistent group stage force so far this year, but every time they got to the playoffs, they would just not be at that same level and they would lose in the quarterfinals, just exit. But now, the whole team, and especially Senzu, really stepped it up for them. They are looking like a championship caliber team. They couldn't bring it across the line against Vitality at the very end, but it was still overall a great event for them, great showing. Best placement for an Asian team ever in CS. The last was technically Asian, which not really, was the Australian Renegades run in 2019, but this was a incredible run for them. Very proud of them. I think they'll stick to the same 5 going forward. I don't see any reason to change. Techno's been very up and down, but he plays a very hard position, and it's just a hard entry for them, so I think they're going to keep him. And yeah, great tournament for Mongols. Shame that the last 2 maps of the finals were such a blowout, but still very proud tournament for them. Now everyone's favorite FaZe. I was rooting for them to go through. They had the only North American player in the playoffs, but they just couldn't get it done versus the Mongols. They lost in 2-0 fashion. There's a lot of question marks around this team right now. I guess this was their most promising result so far this year. It's been a very disappointing year for them so far. Elige really stepped it up in a lot of moments during this tournament, especially during the Mongols match, trying to bring it back, but they just couldn't do it. The future is just really unclear with this team after removing Brokey. Now, they had Simple on loan for this tournament, but as karrigan stated in a tweet online, it's not necessarily the most viable option to stick around with him because it's going to be a very expensive buyout. He's still under contract at Navi, so it remains to be seen what the future for FaZe is going to be like, the AWP situation. Simple did great in the tournament. It was a good comeback for him, though he did kind of cost the team in the final match against the Mongols. But we'll see what they decide to do, FaZe management. They'll see, I guess they'll look at their money, see if it's worth in the moment, because they would be buying not only a great player, but a great amount of hype and merch sales if they bring in Simple, so it's definitely a decision they have to weigh. Falcons, everyone's least favorite team. Absolute dumpster fire, fucking dog shit performance from them. I'm sure plenty of people, including myself, really enjoyed watching that 5v3 versus MIBR to go out in the 22nd place of the major in the second stage. Just absolutely embarrassing for players who are supposedly worth millions of dollars, and they've already gone ahead and removed Magisk, who was actually a pretty consistent performer for the team in this event, and they've gone and replaced him with Keiosuke. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but his contract buyout was $2 million, so again, they've just got their infinite money supply. They're going to go ahead and keep buying players to replace every single position until they have the ultimate super team, but I don't know. I'm very skeptical about this change. He has little to no experience, especially not on LAN. Although he has led Spirit Academy to some success in like lower tier online cups, so we'll have to see. Not a fan of this team for pretty obvious reasons, but you know, very disappointing event from them for sure. Spirit's a very interesting case. I feel very bad for Donk because he put up incredible numbers in this tournament. Although, albeit many of them, a large amount of his stats come from absolutely farming lower tier teams, but he still put on a great tournament. Even when in the last match when they got eliminated by Maus, he was really showing up. He had a very rough T side in that specific match, but he was doing it all on CT, so you can't really blame him for that. I just think Donk needs some help. I don't really know what Spirit's next move is here. I mean, they've just picked up $2 million from selling Kosuke to Falcons, so I hope they take that and go ahead and buy some players. There's got to be some talent in the CIS scene they can go ahead and take. If I'm guessing, they're probably going to remove either Chopper or Magix, probably Magix, because he had some very good moments, especially in the 2024 Shanghai Major, but he's just been a very inconsistent force for the team, and I'm sure they could find someone, you know, younger and more talented to take his positions with the money they have now. G2, there's not too much to say about G2. I don't think they had any expectations coming into this. They're playing with Hades on a loan, and you know, he can hang in tier 1, but not at an especially high level. He's relatively like middle of the pack, mediocre opper in the tier 1 space. But yeah, they almost made the playoffs. They lost in pretty disappointing fashion at the very end. The team is not in a great spot, obviously, after losing their 2 best players, Nico and Monacy, to Falcons. It's a very tough time for them. I know they already announced they're going to be bringing in Senpaius and Saw for the coming season, and those two, Senpaius is, you know, relatively known quantities, very consistent opper, and Saw has been known to take teams, you know, make them punch above their weight. So I think there is hope for G2 in the second half of 2025, but this first half was very disappointing for them all around. Mao is an interesting case as well, because they have been so close so many times. They've been beating practically every team that's in front of them except for Vitality, and they just can never seem to get over the line. I believe they're 0-7 to them in matchups this year, and it looks like it's going to continue. They had their number on that one Inferno game, which I'm not sure why Vitality's still playing even after they lost 13-3 to Legacy in the first opening game. But Maus is almost there, not quite there yet. Looking like one step away from being a championship caliber team. They're probably going to keep the same 5 for next year. And I just would like to say that there were a lot of people, including me, who were doubting what they were going to be this year after they very surprisingly removed Shui at the start of the year. But, you know, Brolin, props to Brolin. He has really proved himself as a capable in-game leader for the tier 1 scene. And they have been very consistently making deep runs into tournaments. And I think they're going to continue to do so in the second half of 2025. I have no reason to believe that they're going to slow down. Aurora has been a very consistent force so far in 2025, making the playoffs of every event they attended except for the major one, which is very disappointing and sad for them to you know, be so good throughout the whole year and then just not make it at the one most important, most memorable event. But hey, good signs for them overall for the year. I mean, it's a disappointing tournament, but we'll have to see. I saw xCloud just got benched on Heroic. We'll have to see if they were to try and make a attempt at getting him. I don't know who they would replace, but he's definitely a very good young Turkish player, so I could definitely see them having some interest in him going forward. And then Pain very surprisingly made the top 4 at this major. Admittedly, they had a very lucky draw in terms of the opponents they faced to get to that point, dodging most of the very powerhouse teams, but hey, it's still a very commendable run. They beat who was in front of them. They lost to the Mongols in 0-2 fashion, but there wasn't really much they could do. I don't think anyone was expecting them to win that. You know, good play to all of them, especially NQZ. I think he's been a very consistent, very stable force for that team, and I wish them the best of luck in the second half of 2025. And Navi, you know, another team that's been very questionable so far this season. I don't know if they don't really look like their former selves. 2024 was definitely much better for them, especially individually. Ima and Wonderful have been quite disappointing. So is JL so far this year. So I'm not really sure what to make of them right now. They're just in a pretty bad state, but they did take Vitality to a close game, which, even though it was a top 8 finish, I think is very promising for them going into the second half of the year. And I think they can do better the second half than they did in the first half for sure. And every team I did mention in this video, I think was either too boring, too mid, just not relevant to talk about going into the second half of the year. They'll probably just do similar to how they are currently. So yeah, that's the complete video. If you enjoyed or agreed, if you disagreed, let me know in the comments down below. It's always great. I always appreciate that. And yeah, I will see you guys next time.